You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hey everybody, Jim here with a little news. Oh my, it's not really breaking news, but it's something that everybody got fired up about. And I saw videos of people outraged. I ended up seeing people then fighting those people. Then I ended up seeing these people fighting another bunch of people. And then I got involved, kind of try to level head this, and then I got attacked from all sides. So thank you. Thank you, everybody, for getting me in the middle of this nonsense, because I'll tell you, this pregnant Joker story and the backup that it comes from, I didn't hate it. You know why? Because I didn't care a lick about it, because it was a bullshit backup. And when you end up railing on a backup, please, you're forgetting the real problem here is that the front up sucked. That story is going nowhere. It's issue 4 and the story, it's a wreck. So here we go. And this is kind of a deal where I'm going to sit everybody down. I'm not going to scold you, even though I'm yelling already. I'm not going to scold you. I'll get a little, let's get comfortable here. What I'm going to do is teach everybody here the right things to hate on and the right way to do it. Because when you end up railing against something like, oh my God, the Joker's pregnant and I hate that, you're just going to have other people say, well, you're this phobic and that phobic and blah, blah. And the real problem of this all gets flushed down the toilet without anybody seeing it. And the real problem is Mathew Rosenberg is not a very good writer. That is my biggest problem with this. And in particular, The Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing is not a very good book. And this controversy will, and has indeed already, bumped the sales of that number 4. And it's something that Mathew Rosenberg kind of crows about at the end. But please, Matthew, if I can call you that, I'll even call you Mr. Rosenberg if you want. But that bump in sales is not going to end up getting you better sales going forward, because your book isn't that good. Your book is doing nothing. And so if they end up reading not just the pregnant Joker story, if they end up reading there's nobody's going to buy that. And I think that this might be one of those where it could be a jumping off point for people who are even getting it. And I don't know if Mathew Rosenberg necessarily has any fans, but if they are reading it like, I kind of dig, I think that this is a telltale sign, again, that this guy has no story going on and the book is going nowhere. And it is one of those slow burns, as they say, because as I read it, I feel like I'm getting slower. And also I burn the issue and throw it out the window. That's a slow burn to me. But here we go. Here is the news story. Mathew Rosenberg lashes out at the pregnant Joker controversy. Mathew Rosenberg, the DC writer behind The Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing comic series that recently saw the Batman villain become pregnant and give birth to Satana's child, kind of but not, has responded to the controversy surrounding the surprising story twist in his Substack newsletter. You can go there. It's Ashcan Press. Please go there. And if you do go there, just read the newsletter. Don't end up engaging in any fight or whatnot. Just read the newsletter and kind of decipher some things. Or you can just listen to me, because I went and I read it and I saw. And the funny thing is, with all of this, and oh my God, it's the biggest thing. And it probably is one of the biggest things that's happened with Mathew Rosenberg in his writing career. In his newsletter, where he's preaching to the choir, he kind of thinks or realizes that he has to explain, pretty much recap this backup story, because he knows nobody's reading it, not even the people who end up with his newsletter. And then at the end, I look, and this has been up, his little thing here has been up for 7 days as I'm recording this. And I look right before I started recording, and there's 10 comments, just 10 comments. And all the comments are centered on something that he ends up saying. They're not really defending him or the story. It's more of railing against something else, which is another thing that I don't really love. But he says, Rosenberg explained that despite the controversy surrounding the Joker supposedly becoming transgender and giving birth to a child, quote, none of that actually happens in the comics. This led him to joke that despite how this backlash has made social media unusable for him, which, okay, you're going to play the victim. That's fine. His DMs have never been more exciting. Oh, my God, that's the humor we've come to love from you, Matthew. Oh, my. He's going to try to be funny in this newsletter, but by the end, you're going to realize, yeah, this guy isn't too funny. And people do think of him as a funny man, and I don't think I am. I don't consider myself a comedian. I also don't consider myself a comic book writer, and I have no aspirations for either. I know that a lot of people who end up reviewing comics, talking about comics as much as I do, end up saying, well, I really want to write a comic. I do not. I never did. I never once said those words because I don't. What I want to be is an editor so I can whip these jerks into shape. Because if this story would have come across me, I would have actually just handed it back. If you really want to do this, fine, but it's not that funny. And he'll try to explain. And again, when you're dealing with comedy, while I don't want to be a comedian, I kind of have heard some things. And one of the things that I've heard at points is if you have to explain a joke, it's not funny. And it gets less and less funny the more and more you have to explain it. So what he does here is explain it because it wasn't funny. Here it is. The backup stories by myself with the brilliant Francisco Francavilla, who I do love, on art, are made to be sort of Silver Age style fevered dreams of the Joker that explore different non-continuity explanations of how there could be multiple Jokers and other themes of the main book. Now, he's talking about the themes of the main book 4 issues in. That book, again, is doing nothing. Concentrate more on your regular story than what you're going to be telling in these jokey ways in your backup, right? Stop the backups. Get those out. I'm not even saying that you get rid of the backups to save the dollar that's tacked on. That would be nice. But if you're not going to tell us, do you need more page space to tell a damn story in the regular deal? Because if you do, get rid of the backup and just have an extended issue. Please let me know. I'm not here for your nonsense backup. I'm here to find out what the story is in The Joker, the Man Who Stops Laughing. And I'm not getting it. And again, that's a theme that we'll talk about going through this with Mathew Rosenberg pretty much at DC so far. But he goes through all the different things and he thinks he's like, oh my God, let me point out. I mean, he's working the pitch here of let me tell everybody how funny these backups have been by saying, you get it. Get this. He cloned himself in a magic mirror. He faked his own death so that he could see what people say at his funeral, which that is one of those things I've seen that so many times. The best was, and one of the first I saw it in, was when Pauly Shore, I think it's Pauly Shore is Dead. He ended up having kind of a pseudo documentary deal where he faked his death to see what people would say about him. This is years. I mean, Pauly Shore, seriously. So that's not original. And accidentally had himself sewn to the body of a gorilla and one of his small henchmen, like some mythological six-armed gorilla circus performer, homicidal clown centaur. Now, he thinks that long explanation is funny, but he also doesn't even mention by name like a Gaggy or a Jackanapes because he already realizes, first off, nobody's read his book. That he's describing in his own newsletter that people who are fans of him subscribe to. He's got to go and tell these people. What he's doing is this is full-out press release put out through a Substack newsletter. There's nothing, why would you have to explain all these things to people who would subscribe to your newsletter and they are fans of yours? Because either he has nobody subscribing and he knows nobody cares. I see the sales. He's right. Nobody cares. But you end up having him describe that. So now he's described all that. And then he says he explains his joke story, this backup of the Joker being, he goes through it. I mean, he might as well have pasted the script right there or just given out the backup for free. Here, everybody read this because I know you haven't. So I will recap it in detail. That is ridiculous. So he goes through that. And then at the end, he says, this isn't an allegory or metaphor or social commentary. It's a joke, right? He also says, again, before people at the end of these, the next one will not end up referencing the Joker being pregnant, or it won't reference the clone in the mirror. Now, I think that down the line, he might throw this in again because this is the moneymaker, but you end up where all of that leads to the brick wall. And maybe he doesn't realize it, but what he's telling everybody is, listen, these backups, right? They mean nothing. They're a joke. Yeah, they're a joke. They're a joke because they are nothing. And that's why I said me and Eric on our podcast have been talking about the 3 backups leading to this. And each time we end up saying, oh, and there's a backup, but really it's just bullshit. It doesn't mean anything. He's trying to do this Silver Age thing. And hey, there's a clone of Joker in a mirror. We don't ever take any time with it. And I don't think a lot of people would. So you end up where he's basically telling you, yeah, that bullshit at the end, I like Francavilla, but it doesn't mean anything. So you can take that where you want. The writer joke then, and this is where I can't stand this because, okay, if it's me, maybe you have an actual press release or you put on your thing, hey, everybody's upset about that. I hope that the people who are upset about it have actually read it. And I'll look at the criticism. Maybe my joke didn't hit as well as I thought. I apologize for that. I apologize if I offended anybody, but also really that wasn't my intent. I'm just trying to have Silver Age fun. And hey, it's comics, kids. Like that would be my press release. But instead, he ends up having to go, oh, get this. The folks at Fox News and the Post might look up to the Joker and see him as an aspirational figure. Again, you are discounting just regular fans who didn't like it, but you're also now making a target so that you're hoping you can get your lynch mob going because the lynch mob came at you. You're going to get one at Fox News and the Post. Oh, the evil Fox News. And I'll tell you, I'm not going to go into my politics, but overall, I would guess, maybe this will upset people, but I bet you that my politics are more in line with Mathew Rosenberg's than a lot of people who railed against it. But yet I don't do this sort of thing because that's my own business and I run my life with my own kind of set of rules and things like that. But I don't need to find the boogeyman that I go after because they don't believe in the same thing that I do. People and I have friends and I'm on different videos and things like that with people who probably do have an exact opposite deal with me. And people have even said, well, why would you go onto there? Well, there's the opposite too. Because they know how I am and they allow me on as well. Because you know what? Because that's what you do. You don't have to end up just hating somebody full out because they don't believe in everything that you believe. I don't know what this turned into, but hey, that's what I say. And really, it seems kind of a trope or a cliche itself, but I really just judge people on an individual basis and whether or not they're trying to hurt other people, especially my family and my friends. And if you don't do that, then hey, there you go. I don't trust anybody. I don't love, it's just, I'm not capable of things like that. He then explains, the whole deal that it's Fox News and the Post and that he says before listing off all the heinous crimes that include cannibalism, brutal killings, severe assault. So what he says is, listen, I don't know what the Fox News and Post are up to because they seem to love the Joker who is into cannibalism and sexual assault. So I guess they're into it. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that you're saying that basically because they present a news story where, again, it may be informed, it may be not, but that doesn't mean that down the road, you might as well have this be one of those political attack ads. Did you know that Fox News, says that they like the Joker and the Joker does sexual assault? Vote for Mathew Rosenberg. Nonsense. It's all nonsense. It really, really is. So he ends up going on to that. And this is where I said earlier that people in the 10 people who commented, God bless you, almost every one of them is, damn that Fox News. Oh, that Fox News. Take that, the Post. The Post. But yeah, I would say that there's probably other outlets that did this. And then he goes on where those sort of things, Twitter, Reddit, they work on a cycle of feeding outrage and alienation to their audience in order to keep them engaged in anger. What are you doing yourself here? You just ended up pretty much saying Fox News is into sexual assault. That is a cycle of feeding the outrage on your side. You are feeding the boogeyman of Fox News. You're throwing it out because he sits there, and this is what gets me upset. And this is why I think overall the idea of, the comics not doing great and things and people being upset at creators is because of stuff like this, where you sit there and I guarantee you that if I said to Mathew Rosenberg, well, you say this, well, what happens if somebody's a fan of yours but likes Fox News? I know that he'll say, well, I don't want those type of fans. Well, listen, buddy, you have about 6 of them. You better grab and hold on to every single one of them. You better go and visit them and maybe make them Thanksgiving dinner next year, right? Something. And I'm sure somebody, well, Jim, people don't all eat Thanksgiving dinner. I do, and I want Thanksgiving dinner now. I didn't get a Thanksgiving dinner this year because my family ended up ditching me. See, that's what happens. Plus, I'm not allowed to eat a lot of things anymore. Oh, my goodness, I'll tell you, it sucks. Now I'm mad. Take that, Matthew Rosenberg. You ruined Thanksgiving for me, is what is now the title of this. Oh, my goodness. See, that's the cycle of outrage. The writer appreciated, though, how all this controversy has offered a massive promotional boost for his Joker series. I said, this is the devil's hand you're playing here, because anybody who grabs that is not going to get, maybe you'll get a continued little bump next. People are jumping off this book. This book will be canceled very soon because it's not telling a story. Concluding his newsletter that he has since heard from a lot of retailers that it's selling out. Great. Man, this has gone on way too long. This got to be a rambling bunch of nonsense. But back to the beginning, what we should be really angry about, besides just the Joker being pregnant, really what you should be angry about is these backups being added to books at DC specifically and adding $1, and most of the backups are hooey. This one included. They mean nothing. Mathew Rosenberg said that it really meant nothing. Also, the other thing is this decompressed storytelling where you're not getting enough in each issue. 4 issues of this book, and we have barely even told any sort of story. People are wondering even what the book really is supposed to be about. So with that, those are the things to get angry about. Get angry about mid-writers writing mid-stories. Get mad at the editors for not pushing the idea of telling better stories. And so hopefully that could be something if we all gather together and just demand better stories at a good price point. Maybe people can end up getting excited. And you could sit there and say, and another video could be this, about the idea, well, comics are at the strongest point they've ever been. But is that DC itself? Because I hear a lot of people and be told a lot, because I talk to people because I do a lot of DC stuff where they're bailing to manga or indie stuff. So that is a problem because of mid stories and nonsense. So with all of that, that is it. I hope that everybody enjoyed the ramblings of a madman. So with that, though, take care, and I'll talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.